What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be drawing Dr. Stein from Soul Eater. We'll begin by drawing the top of his eyelids, and notice that they're slightly curved. Then we'll draw the rest of his eyes, with his pupil being in the very corner of his eyes. And we'll repeat the same process for his right eye. His eyebrow is going to come down from an angle and connect with the corner of his eye. On the far side, his eyebrow is going to go a little bit past his eye, and it's going to be a bit thinner than on his near side eye. His nose will be very small and will fall just below the center of our cube. We'll begin drawing his mouth closer to the bottom of the cube, but we'll stop halfway so that we can draw his cigarette. Now let's go ahead and draw the shape of his face. We'll draw the outline of his scar right now, and we'll draw the rest of the stitches a little bit later. His first hair is going to start at the top of the cube and fall just between his eyes. Then we'll just work our way around the rest of his hairline. I'm going to be going pretty slow here, but that's just in case anybody wants to follow along, because the hair for this anime style is going to be a little bit more difficult than drawing Dragon Ball Z or Naruto. Alright, we're finally done with his hair. Now let's add a few stitches to his scar. Next, we'll go ahead and draw this giant bolt that he has going through his head. Alright, we're all done drawing his face and his hair, so we can finally get to work drawing his shirt. We'll start with his collar. Alright, now let's draw the outside of his collar, his jacket, and we'll start drawing some details on his shirts. So first we'll go down in the middle, we'll create some interesting angles that are different from the direction that the jacket is pointing in. And his buttons are just going to be these long triangle shapes. Make sure they're not all going in the same direction. Some of them are going to be going up, some of them are going to be going down, and it's just to add some contrast to our image. Alright, we're almost done. All we have to do now is draw his jacket. It's not a game, it's a rich thing. Okay, cool. So now I'm just gonna ink over our sketch off camera and I'll be right back. Nice. After inking it, it looks way better. We're gonna add a little bit more ink actually around his eyes. So on the top and the corner of his eyes, we're gonna draw over just the top of his pupil, but this is gonna be on the inside of his eye. We're not gonna draw over the outside. Alright, now it's time to start the coloring process. But actually I ran out of ink in a couple of my markers. Actually, all the markers that I needed for this drawing, I ran out of ink all at the same time. So that sucked. But it created a good opportunity for me to try out my color pencils. These are really expensive color pencils. I think they were around 300 bucks. And I wanted to try them out. So you can see the result for yourself. It still leaves some white spots in between. That's the big problem with color pencils. Doesn't matter how nice they are, they're always going to leave white spots. And the gray or the silver is barely visible. It's just not as smooth and as clean as it would be if you use markers. Yeah, and I'm actually gonna, once I color over the hair, you'll see I'm gonna try creating some highlights. And it's just impossible to create highlights over the hair with just color pencils. Here, I'll show you. So these are the highlights. I'm going to get a darker gray and just color around it. And it's not going to work. So as you can see, the highlights are not visible at all. So I just gave up on it. Even if I drew around the outline of the highlight, it didn't matter. So it's just impossible to see. So what I did instead is I just color over the whole thing. You can still create some shadows though with the darker colors, so no problems there, no complaints there at all. Now you might be wondering, like, why aren't you just burnishing? Why are you complaining about it's not even enough? Well, first of all, burnishing takes a lot of energy, and even with these, and these are very smooth color pencils, it takes a lot of energy, and still it's almost, like I said, you still can't get rid of the white spots. I don't care how hard you press down, because I spent like 2 hours, wasted 2 hours of my life going over this with color pencils, and it just did not matter. So anyways, back to shading. So you can see the big advantage of color pencils here is how accurate they are. And that's why in the last couple of videos that I've uploaded, you see me going over it with markers first, getting the first, second layers with markers, and then the really small dark layers I'll do with color pencil. And those are the areas that you need a lot of accuracy, so it's like perfect tool for the job. Alright, so I just went through some YouTube videos on how to get rid of those white spots, and I saw a promising tip. They said just use your Copic mixer and just go over the color pencil with it. It's going to smooth it out, and I gotta tell you, it actually does look smoother. Like, you can't tell the texture when you look at it, but it doesn't do anything for the white spots. The white spots are still there. It's just, it looks nicer. It looks smoother, that is. So now I've resorted to just using whatever's left of my used Copic markers just to go over it. Like, I've basically given up on life at this point. And actually the skin, you can tell, is way too dark. So the E00 is not the correct marker to be using for this, which is unfortunate, because if you order the Copic marker sets, that is going to be the lightest skin color that you get. So I actually ordered a set of Copic markers just for the skin, and a couple days later, here I am using the E000 Copic marker, and it did nothing. I mean, there was no difference in the skin tone, because I have already done so many layers on this. I did pencil, then I did that mixer, then I went over with marker, then I went over with pencil again, so it's just way too late to try to change it with a lighter skin color. Anyways, I highly recommend that skin set, because honestly, that's what I should have been using for this character all along. He has a very pale complexion. E000 would have been perfect. But as you can see, the entire color scheme of this drawing is incorrect, but hopefully it still turns out nice. His face is a bit bright, and fans of the show are probably going to be a bit pissed I messed it up, but oh well, what are you going to do? If nothing else, this session has been a pretty great learning experience on what to do and what not to do, and how to properly mix your markers and your pencils. What I learned is that coloring with pencils by themselves, you're pretty much guaranteed that your picture is going to end up looking like trash. I mean, you're probably better off just honestly trying to shade over it with a graphite pencil instead of going the color pencil route. But if you put the Copic markers down first and then layer with color pencils on top of that, only in the darker regions, then your artwork is going to look amazing. Alright guys, well that's it for today. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.